Hey team, wanted to walk through the 14.4 planning issue as we start refinement for that milestone, with 14.2 wrapping up and 14.3 refinement wrapping up. And I'm also going to touch on a little bit of the Q3 priorities with the taking on build artifacts, and a lot of the work lately that we've been doing is build artifacts, kind of talk about the what and the why of that, and then what else is going to be happening in Q3 and into the second half of the year. So starting with the 14.4. This milestone will be kicking off in September, about a month from now, running through October. So the milestone theme, we're going to continue to prioritize efforts around build artifacts through epics like the statistics artifact size is broken, artifact storage consumption, because our hypothesis is that making artifacts easier to manage is going to drive later adoption of testing features. So we want to make sure that as we're storing artifacts, the size is reflected correctly, that people can access them later on if they want to download those artifacts. But ultimately, we want them uploading them as probably reports so that they can drive some of our test features like test summary or coverage, test coverage visualization, things like that. So some of the top deliverables, we have a couple of infra dev issues, which are both confidential, so I won't be clicking into those. And then implementing the SAX parser for Cobertura so that we can safely increase the size limit of those Cobertura files to drive test coverage visualization. We're going to do this instead of take the MR that came from a customer to just change the size. This was something that was identified as a potential performance improvement. So we're going to tackle that first. And then we have a couple of slow endpoint issues that we want to tackle. Thanks, Scott, for digging into the dashboard and sussing those out so that we have some things to work on. So we have a couple things there. And then digging in some design issues, Gina is going to start working on some of the iterations that we identified as part of our solution validation for the project quality summary. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the second half of Q3. And then some top bugs that we want to try to address. Some of the priorities that are at the top are also bugs. And then keeping the latest artifacts, keeps the latest artifacts of failed pipelines. This is a weird corner case that I think we should probably talk through. We can do that asynchronously in the issue, just to talk about the expected results. So in the case of a failed pipeline, if this setting is enabled, we'll hang on to that job or hang on to the artifacts from a job if the job fails. So once a newer job replaces it, that should be fine. But there might be some situations based on how I'm reading this issue where that artifact persists indefinitely or expired doesn't work for it. So we might have some work to validate that that is happening as it should first. And then the last is this auto Devops is not uploading artifacts. This may end up being treated as a feature enhancement. I haven't fully dug into it. I'm not sure the template is set to upload these, so it may not be a bug so much as an enhancement to that. But I really think that this would be a great way to drive adoption. If we auto test, we should grab those artifacts if we can, upload them if they're a JUnit and format, so that people can start to use test summary and the test reports and those features as we've changed our performance indicator from PGMAU to just GMAU, so from paid users to all users. So that is what's going on in 14.4. And then, as promised, I wanted to talk a little bit about the rest of Q3 in the second half of the year. So looking at our near-term roadmap, our now, next, later, now, we're really working on improving that management and performance of build artifacts. And that goes back to a couple of things, one being our theme around hosted GitLab first and performance. We have the ongoing infra dev and sharding issues that we're working on. All of that rolls up to just a better experience for .com users, users who don't want to host, or for our very, very large customers who have huge instances with thousands of developers. They're going to get those benefits as well. And then next, what we're going to do is dig back into or jump back into the project quality summary. So surfacing data like the test execution data, the code coverage data. We may work with our friends over in SAST to get an endpoint to give us project quality violations. That was, had great response from customers about that, pulling that into that view as well. And then later on, as we get into the latter half of the year, starting to dig into project history reports. And let's click into that just to take a peek. So this is a project level test result history on that default branch, looking at the history of a test over time. So expanding on that MVC that we introduced way back in 13 something to show not just how often is this failing over the last 14 days, but give me those last couple of runs so that I can better identify if a test is flaky or not. We've heard great response from customers about this who have interacted within the issue. So we feel positive about this would be a good move, good way forward in getting better data to customers. So that is what is coming up the second half of the year. If you have any questions about 14.4 refinement or about the second half, let me know, and I'll add this topic to our team agenda for tomorrow. Thanks.